Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Deja Vu here, bringing you another StarCraft commentary, and it's going to be, I know last time I said it was going to be BC versus Free, but it's actually going to be Fantasy versus Zero first, and they're actually, obviously, Fantasy and BC on the same team, Zero and Free on the same team, so they're from the same series, SKT versus Bunjin Star, so I'm going to do this game first because this is set 1, and so it just makes more sense to do this game first, and just to let you guys know, yeah, I am not doing any full series today, and they're just going to be, you know, with the copyright thing, with the number of games that have been going on, I just went and I just went through the last few series that were played last week and just grabbed some of the biggest names. Whenever big names were playing each other, I just grabbed them and I was just gonna cast them because there's obviously just too many series that were played in order to catch up on enough. So I went and just grabbed some of the biggest names, and that's what we're gonna have today. So if you are worried about spoilers and things, you know, do with it as you will. If you want to watch them, if you want to go watch the normal VODs elsewhere and then come back and watch them, that is completely up to you. But just to warn you that other games, this is the first out of the series, but other games in the future can come from anywhere in the series. So just bear that in mind. And yeah, just bear that in mind as you go through, and don't get too mad if, you know, I cast a 5th set or a 4th set and you're like, oh my god, now I know what happened in set 3 or something when you go back and watch it. So that's all. But this is going to be Fantasy versus Zero, and Fantasy starting out in the bottom right, Zero in the top left, the Zerg. Hopefully you all know that. Really should. Like, that's a really good thing to know. And if you don't know it, you're a little bit behind the times. But that is okay, and that is, I don't know. I wish I knew what the sign said, but that's okay. And Zero, as I've mentioned before, he really needs to get those big purple glasses back because he looks so much better than them. But he is going to 12 hatch here in the from the top left in that corner. And this is, by the way, the map is Ground Zero. So there you go. This is Ground Zero, 4-player map with that char lava look to it. That's actually pretty cool. Doesn't look like we're going to have a 3-hatch before pool, anything too crazy like that, but we do have the extractor already coming up, and Fantasy going out with his scout pretty early as well after throwing down his racks, and we'll see how that, he'll get the cross-scout position at the second scouting spot. And Zero and Fantasy, this should be a really good game. Bunjin Zergs are really, really good against Terrans. They are really good. Zero and Sulky are fantastic. Crazy Hydra, when he was here, was actually pretty good as well. So, yeah, this should be fantastic. Fantasy is very creative and very tricky against Zerg opponents, and he just comes away with wins. He just finds ways to win all the time against his Zerg opponents. So, this should be a very, very fun game. Hopefully very, very creative. You know, Zero, you know, he's the Queen Zerg for a reason. He comes up with some crazy Queen play. Sulky maybe stole a little bit of his Queen Thunder with his Queens against Bio play, or Queens against Mech play, that he's really done very well with. But really, Zero is the true Queen Zerg in my book. Zero is the first Queen Zerg, and definitely my favorite of the Queen Zergs. Definitely, I like him better than Sulky, but not to take anything away from Sulky, but Zero's Zero and awesome, so we'll see how that goes. So the layer morphing for Zero as his natural expansion, and Fantasy not looking to take his natural quite yet. Doesn't look like it. And oh no, I'm sorry, he has taken it down. And what else are we going to see here? I'm getting a little caught up in the whole Zero versus Fantasy thing and how awesome it's going to be, and how awesome it's going to be if it gets to late game. If this game ends in like 10 minutes, I'm going to be really annoyed, because I think late game Zero versus Fantasy could be really, really cool, with Fantasy's like mech and mech control and dropship control, which he's really, really good at, and then Zero's awesome macro management skills and multitasking. I think it could be really, really awesome. So if this game ends in 10 minutes, I will be very, very disappointed. But it does look like Zero's actually built a rather large number of Zerglings. You usually see that number at about 4 or 6, but it looks like he's gone for about 8 here, and he's actually going towards Fantasy's base. He's not going to be able to get a run by or anything. There's too many SCVs and Marines and a bunker there. So he's got this, actually looks like it might even be 10 Zerglings, and he's actually going to go for the roundabout. Look at this. He's going to go back around the mineral lines, and he's actually might go for a run by here. Will he go for it? And Fantasy has to pull off all of his his SCVs from mining here, and Zero's still pouring in more Zerglings, so he is going all for it. He's actually going to try and box all of these units in for Fantasy with Zerglings from the outside, Zerglings from the inside. He's going to get a huge surround, and here he goes. He's going for it, and he's going to try and bust up this ramp. He's getting in there. SCV's doing a great job right now of blocking, and so far it looks like Zero is going to not be able to bust up this. Fantasy's SCV micro and Marine micro able to stop it. So Fantasy with some fantastic micro, they're able to keep basically all of his Marines alive and doing a fantastic job there of thwarting Zero's attempt there. Zero is going to dart in here with some Zerglings and pick off a few SCVs. Looks like he's gotten 2. He might pick off a 3rd. No, he's going to have to retreat here. So he's still trying to keep up with this harassment, but he spent a lot of larva on Zerglings, and they have not done nearly enough in this game. So he is definitely taking a big backseat in this game right now. He has nowhere near the drones that he would normally want, and you can see that at the amount of drones at his natural expansion, the fact that there is no second gas and likely won't be a second gas for quite some time. He just simply does not have the drones for it. So yeah, this is just really, really bad right now for Zero. He does pick up a couple more Marines there, so he's starting to make his Zerglings worthwhile, and picks up another one. Fantasy with his very, very famously terrible, atrocious, awful, God-forsaken Marine micro, probably the worst Marine micro in all of the pro scene, which is really amazing considering how good Fantasy is at like everything else. The fact that his Marine micro is, I don't know if anyone has worse Marine micro than he does, and it's quite amazing to see that. But it's kind of funny too, actually. But you know, it is what it is. He finds ways to win anyways, and he's throwing down a couple more Raxes, so he is going to go with this Marine build, and his turrets are coming up right now. Mutalisk coming into the air and getting into position right now, but there's only a couple of them. You know, like I said, Zero just simply doesn't have the money to really pour into this because he spent all of those larva on Zerglings. So he's coming in here with his Mutalisk and going to be diverted by just a couple of turrets. You know, this is one of those things where Fantasy's not going to have to invest a ton in turrets, like you would see from a 3-hatch committed hider. You know, a couple turrets here, a couple turrets there, and he'll be able to basically support himself. Probably about 6 to 8 turrets will be enough, and a lot of times against a 3-hatch muta build, you'll see 9 to 12. You'll see a significant number of turrets, like usually 3 groups of 3, I think, is what you see a lot of times against 3-hatch muta. But against this limited drone production, I think you're going to see a lot less. And then as soon as I say that, Zero finds this huge gap and picks off a boatload of SCVs. I think he just picked off like 4 or 5 SCVs, and in this little corner of Fantasy's base where he did not have any Marines prepared yet. So looks like maybe I was a little bit wrong. Maybe Fantasy will be forced to overturn and try and fend off these Mutalisks. I also want to see if Zero is going to really invest in these Mutalisks and maybe even get +1 Carapace on them, or air armor, I think, air whatever on them, so that way they can take a lot more damage. And he's coming in here with the Lings, with the Mutalisks as well. He's going to try and pick off this Marine group, and picks off a lot of it, but not all of it. 5 Marines left, so with his Mutalisks trying to continue his micro, not able to pick off the rest of that group, but is managing to keep that Marine count low. Unfortunately, Zero doesn't look like he's preparing at all for a 3rd base right now, so if we don't see a 3rd base go up very, very, very soon, this is basically going to become an all-in by Zero. I mean, you know, it's just one of those things where you need that 3rd base. You need at least a 3rd hatch, even if you don't have a 3rd base, in order to keep up with the production of Terran as the game proceeds. And it doesn't look like there is any motion for that on Zero's part. He's going to have to use his Mutalisk very, very well, and it looks like finally he's getting a drone to the bottom left, so we could be seeing him preparing for a little bit longer game. But it's definitely concerned with how late that it's going to be. Fantasy's starting to build up his Marine medic group, sending an SCV to top right to see if there is a base. They're going to see that there is no base, and probably going to scan the bottom left, and I think that's exactly what we just saw. Perfect timing by Fantasy. Gets his SCV to the top right and then scans the bottom left, and a good job by Zero trying to pick off some of these medics as well. The weak point of any Marine medic force is the medics. If you can pick off a couple of them, it really, really hinders the ability to stim and really survive out there in the field. And I think Fantasy knows about this in the bottom left. I really do. I feel like he scanned it, and he's going to be able to prepare to take it down if he's able to build that Marine group. And he, you know, there's Fantasy again, losing control of 1 Marine, and it goes and sacrifices itself basically. So we'll see. Fantasy with his god awful Marine micro might actually be able to throw this game away, and that is exactly what he loses. A couple more Marines there in the in the reinforcement route. Fantasy with his Marine group just really is not that big. Just look at this. He just really does not have that many Marines, and they're just getting picked off left and right by these Mulas. Zero with some fantastic micro right now, destroying these Marine forces. And those Marines have no upgrades. They've got no nothing. I'm not entirely certain what Fantasy's going for right now, but his Marines have virtually no upgrades, and he is really getting destroyed right now, although Zero has just stopped microing his Mulus. What is going on in this game? I don't know what that was. Zero just not paying attention to his Mulus and lost a couple there and took a lot of damage when he really shouldn't have. He had an opportunity there to continue with his Mulus harassment and really keep the Marine numbers down for Fantasy. Finally, we do see +1 finish for Fantasy, so his Marines will be a little bit more effective here. And we saw the factory already go up, so we will be able to start getting into the higher tech tree of the Terran arsenal, getting towards tanks and get to the science facilities and the science vessels and those kinds of things. So now with that +1, these Mules become a lot less effective, and without until or if the Mules do get that Carapace upgrade. And until that happens, we're just going to see these Mules get every swoop. Every time you see a swoop at the +1, those Mules are going to take a ton of damage, and a lot of times they will just go down. They will lose 1 or 2 on each swoop. So he's got to be really careful. He does have the Hydras out. I'm going to be waiting for Lurker aspect to finish and getting those gas in order to really get that going. And Fantasy going towards the bottom left, he does know about this base. There are no Hydras there. There are no Lurkers on that ramp as you would want. Zero either probably just not able to get Hydras out in time in order to get them there. So this base likely going to go down unless his Mules can get something done, and he is going to go for his Mules and actually doing this very, very well, fighting the Marines on like this ramp where the AI is really going to be kind of glitchy and going to be a little bit troublesome. Although realistically, if you want to fight there, you kind of want to be the Mules towards the top of the ramp, so that way you can take advantage of the sight range. Whereas in that fight, Fantasy able to get some of his Marines on top of the ramp and actually take advantage of the sight range. It became his advantage a little bit there. But the bottom left base forced to cancel, and Zero is now sitting on 2 bases again, not able to get the 3rd base rolling. And Fantasy again is going to be looking pretty happy here again if he doesn't make any huge blunders and doesn't throw away another Marine group, doesn't make any huge mistakes. He's going to move himself into an advantage just by the fact that it's 2 base on 2 base. His tech is starting to roll. He's getting towards those science vessels, and he certainly already has scans for these Lurkers. Zero getting aggressive now with his Lurkers, not able to defend the bottom left, so he's going to use his Lurkers aggressively, and this SCV coming out, and those are hold Lurkers. Excellent by Zero, hold Lurkers. So Fantasy has no idea. He could just march out and potentially just lose a lot of Marines right now. And hold Lurkers probably again here on the left as well. Nope, Zero is going to go for it. So now Fantasy does know about the Lurkers, and I think Zero really just wants to break down this group at the bottom left. He doesn't want to have to worry about it. Is the main thing. And but Fantasy not going to throw away this game at all. Has that science vessel out, and he's going to push with the science vessel and the 3 tanks. So this is a very, very powerful group right now for Fantasy. An extremely powerful force with all those Marines with those 3 tanks. It's going to be very, very dangerous if Fantasy can control it effectively. And so Zero's fighting his nice fighting retreat right now, burrowing and unburrowing his Lurkers, trying to get those tanks to siege. Every time he gets those tanks to siege, that's a win. That right there is a win. Every time the tank siege, that's a win for Zero. That means that he's buying himself a few more seconds it takes to get his hive tech going. 1-1 upgrades on the Marines, so they are starting to get quite beefy. And a nice irradiate, and Zero not splitting them off for quite some time, and almost splits them back together. So Zero taking a lot of damage on those Mules, and I'm starting to get very, very fearful for Zero in this game right now. But some good Lurkers there might be able to do some damage, but no, good scan coming off, and they were in a nice split formation with that nice linear form from Zero. And Fantasy looks like he's going to go for the Jugular, going to go straight to the natural expansion, going to destroy that Lurker, and is easily going to be able to take down that sunken colony as well. So Zero looking very, very grim right now. This is going to be extremely difficult for him to defend, but he is going for it. Here come the Lurkers from the back, as well as the Mules, going to try and pick off as much as he can. He does pick off a lot of the Marines, not all of them, but a lot of the Marines are down. One of the tanks does go down, and just 1 Lurker left. Lurkers! Oh, GG from Zero. Doesn't even wait for all of his units to die. Zero GG's. Fantasy takes this game. That was a little bit of an early GG from Zero, at least for a programmer. Usually see them just go a little bit longer until everything's dead. But really nice play there overall from Fantasy. So we saw once again the real crutch of Fantasy's play is that Marine control. We saw several mistakes in that game, but Zero unable to take advantage. Fantasy with very, very nice early defense, and that really put him ahead in the game, and Zero just not able to catch up. So we're going to go on to the next set. It is going to be Bisu and Free from later on this series. Like I said, it's not the second set, so if you are worried about spoilers, do what you must. Otherwise, I am just going to cast it and upload it, and you guys can do with it as you will. But I will see you next. It is going to be Be Soon Free.